Okay, cool. So today, what I wanted to do was talk about compounding our wins. So achieving and compounding more wins in reality to make our dream goals come to us quicker and much easier, and to have an overall more positive relationship with the journey that we are on, right? The goal is, we all know we have to compound all of those wins in order to ultimately make the progress that we want to have. So before we start, we have to start with some positivity. So in the chat, type in one win that you have had in the 7 days. Past 7 days, it could be personal, it could be nutrition, it could be training. Maybe you just got started, maybe you've been consistent, maybe you hit a new PR. Write in the chat, what is one win that you have had in the past 7 days? What's my win? My win, honestly, I'm like dying low key, but I have allowed myself to sleep for like the past 3 days. On Sunday, I slept like 20 hours, it seemed, and that's a big win for me. So one win in the chat that you have experienced in the past 7 days. Ooh, finally up my resume and ready to job hunt. I love that. Congrats. I love personal wins. We don't do those often. Another win. Another win. Any consistency? Anybody hit a new PR? Anybody doing well with their nutrition? Maybe we meal prepped. What is a win that we have had in the past 7 days? Type it in the chat unless you're driving. Hitting your water streak. Didn't realize how little bit of water I was drinking. Yes, definitely don't realize that until we actually start drinking, and then you're peeing like a million times, but your body gets used to that. Consistency with workouts, amazing. And Jen is hitting 2K plus calories. We love that for you all the time, every day. New PR hip thrust at a new high, 254. Geez. And getting my meal preps in the past week. Love that for you, Joanne. I had to message you back. I'm sorry. I will message you back for sure on what you mentioned. Congrats on that new PR. All right. If you have any more, I'll give you another minute to put those in. And if not, we will start with the lesson. Getting this meal preps in check. Awesome. Not sure who that is. Just a Zoom user. All right, cool. So we are going to get started. You can still continue to drop those in, but I want to get started with today's lesson and hopefully make it quick. But you know, I don't always say that, but my body is telling me, girl, you got to hurry up. So let's get started with today. All right, I'm going to share my screen. And if you see my screen, please let me know. Can you see my screen here? Put a 1 in the chat if you can. All right, perfect. So if at any point you have any questions, you can either put in the chat or honestly just unmute yourself and ask, right? It's completely open. If you are new to these calls, this is a complete safe space. So there's no such thing as a dumb question, right? We are all on different parts of our journey. And you'll find that even if you have a question, somebody can actually answer it a lot better than I can. So if you have a question, unmute yourself. And I go through these pretty quickly. So that's why. So achieving and compounding more wins to make your dream goals come to you quicker and easier. And overall, how can we keep a positive experience with your fitness journey? If I could wrap, like, I know all of us have goals of body composition, of strength, of food freedom, of things like this. But if at the end of this journey for you, you can say that you finally have a positive experience with training and nutrition, that is 100% win for us, right? Because if you don't have that positive experience, if we don't change that mindset, if we don't dive into this mentality, right? Then what happens after the next 6 months is we're kind of on that hamster wheel back into our old habits that we were in before, right? So today, a couple of things that I want to talk about. This is going to be for you if you've been struggling with any type of consistency, right? Maybe you can't stay consistent, even if it seems like in simple things. Or if you've been struggling with self-sabotage, right? You've made progress, but you are still not satisfied after making progress. right? You've lost all of this weight, you've gained this muscle, you've changed your whole entire way of eating, but still, it's not enough. All right, so we're going to talk about that today. And of course, if you want to make this journey more of a positive experience so that you never want to stop. This is not just a 6-month program. This is not just 1 year. This is something that we are going to do for the rest of your life. So you've seen me put this a million times before, and you'll see it a million times. All right, when we think of our journey, we have to think of this pyramid where stress and habits, I even put stress and sleep down at the bottom. So sometimes when we are struggling with certain roadblocks, right, it's like, oh, what can I do with my nutrition? Should I cut calories? What should I do with training? Should I add cardio? And I'm like, hey, are you scheduling your workouts in? I realize that you're not meal prepping, but it's because you're stressed at home. What's going on there? All right, so it always is going to lay down to the foundation to ultimately make us more productive to get our nutrition done and to get our training done, right? So in a perfect world, right, rainbows and butterflies, the most perfect world, you are meal prepping, you are having 5 intense training sessions, training days per week. You are tracking and hitting all of your calories. You are journaling. You have everything scheduled. You are sleeping. And of course, you are losing the weight. You're building the muscle. The perfect world. Maybe your job's not even bothering you. Your kids are behaving like the most perfect world. But unfortunately, we know that that's not always going to happen. All right. So how can we continue to compound these wins when things aren't always going completely linear? Now, in a perfect world, we want to think that progress is like this, right? I start this journey and boom, all of a sudden I'm on top of the world. Everything's going, fat is coming right off me. Muscle is building like perfect, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't always work that way. And it kind of looks a little bit more like this. I honestly wanted to find even a more drastic, where we go up, we go down, we go up, we go down, right? It's never going to be completely linear, right? Even with fat loss, even when we first start this journey, some of you at the beginning are like, oh my God, Nicole, I'm not losing weight that quickly. What's going on? And then we dip down and say, oh, nice, I'm losing weight. Oh no, I'm back to where I started. And then we go through these like crazy things. My favorite part is like here, right? Where we've lost a bunch of weight and then we bump up a little bit and then we go through this like crazy mayhem in our heads of like progress is not being made. Right. So this is realistically what your fat loss progress is going to look like. But if we look at it over time, we are making progress. The difficult thing for this journey is a lot of us get stuck in these lows, right? So when you hit this point here, right, we don't think about, oh, wow, I've made this much progress. We think about, why am I not here? Why am I not at my dream body yet? Why is everything not just coming off of me? Why is everything not just falling into place? Why isn't it so easy for me to meal prep and to improve my nutrition or say no to certain things? Same thing with your fat loss, right? Once we get to this point here, right, we bump up and it's like, oh my God, I'm a failure. Why did the weight bump up? Why won't it move? It's been a couple of days and my weight hasn't came back down. And you don't realize like, hey, you've actually made so much progress, but for you, it's not enough because you're not here. The biggest thing with that is that when we get here, you're going to have those same thoughts, because when we have a spike, it's not, oh, wow, I made all of this progress. It's like, why am I not down here? Right? Why am I not achieving more? So if you're not appreciating every single step that you're on and you're not really paying attention to those wins that you are compounding, right? The little tiny wins, we are not going to continue moving forward. And it's very important to get into that. So once we hit these little dips right here, or these little peaks, right, in your weight, or these dips in the whole journey, first thing that we get into is self-sabotage, right? Why am I not at this point? Why don't I look like this? Oh my God, I feel bloated, right? Our mind starts to self-sabotage and it starts to rain all over our parade. And what happens with self-sabotage? 2 things happen when you start to self-sabotage. Number 1, it's going to paralyze you from taking more action. And that's something that I want to go over today for anybody that is struggling with consistency, because the reason that you can't move forward from this is probably going to come from self-sabotaging and from not realizing the importance of the very, very, very little things and how we can compound these wins that we're going to go over in a little bit. The second thing, when we self-sabotage, it can make us upset even though you're making progress. All right. How many of us, and you can just raise your hand, you've made a ton of progress and all of a sudden you look at yourself in the mirror and you're upset, when realistically, if 6 months ago you was looking at you, she would probably cry of joy. She'd be like, wait, what? You're working out 5 times a day? Wait, you're eating that much? No way. You haven't given up, right? I can't believe you look like that now. I can't believe, look at your like shoulders, right? Because we make ourselves upset, not in the whole journey, even though we are making progress. I'm sorry, I'm sweating right now. Give me a second. This fever is kicking my ass. All right, next. So here's where we're putting in the work, right? So this is going to be a big mindset shift for you, something that you have to continue doing moving forward, right? If you are not being consistent, if you struggle with self-sabotaging, it is redefining your wins. So how can we redefine our wins? And I'm gonna put it for a couple of different people. If you are someone who's kind of had a tough time getting started, how are ways that we can redefine your wins? Because automatically when we have a tough time getting started, it's like, wait, Nicole, I haven't lost 10 pounds yet. Oh my God, I haven't completed all of my workouts in the past 2 months. Like we get into the most extreme things, but my question to you is like, have you been consistently hitting more workouts? Would 2 months ago you be like, oh wow, I can't believe you've been going to the gym 3 times a week. That's pretty awesome, right? Have you been consistently eating 4 meals a day? So we all know, I've mentioned that at the beginning, fat loss is not going to happen unless we get a consistent structure with your diet and with your nutrition and with your relationship with food, right? So if you've kind of had a tough time like getting started and you want to find wins, have you been eating 4 times a day? Did you like stop skipping breakfast because you used to skip breakfast all the time and now you never do? That's a win. Are you consistently walking every day? That's a win. Maybe you didn't lose 10 pounds last week, but we've been consistently walking every single day. Have you been not ripping yourself or your body to shreds every time you look in the mirror? That is a win. And if you're struggling with that, and if you're new here, right, shoot me a message like, hey, like talk about this. And we have a lesson that we recently did on this, and I'll send it to you so that you can go through that too. And another win is like, did we stop binging and restricting? Because that's the number one thing. When we get into this process, we don't restrict. And when we don't restrict, we don't have that urge to binge. So these are all wins. So yeah, you just got started and you're struggling with that consistency of like that rainbow of everything is perfect, right? But you're upset, even though that you've made so much progress already. Another type of person. So if you're someone who's maybe hit a sticking point, right? This usually, like our program is 6 months, the initial one for a reason. And a lot of people continue after that, right? Into phase 2. Some people are in like year 2, right? If you're someone who's hit a sticking point, have you lost some weight? Have you made progress? Have you built muscle? Are you feeling a sense of freedom in your journey where you aren't feeling guilty about eating, where maybe you're eating more than you ever have been eating before? Right. And of course, all of the other things. So when we start to get to this point where like I hit a sticking point and I'm not making enough progress, I'm not making more progress. Just because you hit a sticking point doesn't mean you are not winning. Right. You are winning in all of these ways, but it's very important for you to find that and for you to focus on that. And then the last type of person is when we're redefining our goals. If you're someone that has put their body through years of under eating. I actually had this conversation about like a week ago or so, right? Like I'm not losing any weight, like nothing. And I was like, wait, you were stuck at 1,800 calories and you weren't losing any weight. But if you would go under, you would gain weight. Now you're eating 2,500 calories and you're still not losing, you're not gaining, right? We're still at that same point, but you're eating an extra 700 calories every single day. So if we look at like, yeah, I'm not losing weight, damn, I'm a failure. But if we look at, damn, I'm eating an extra 700 calories a day, that's pretty big win, right? So ways to redefine our wins. Are we maintaining the weight off of more calories? Are we no longer scared to eat certain foods? Right? Is our bodies finally starting to thrive rather than just survive? Do you have energy on a day-to-day? Right? Are you stronger in certain lifts? Joanne just mentioned she hit like 254, 250 something in her hip thrust. That's huge. When she first started this journey, she definitely sent me her form assessment with the dumbbell. There's no shot she was going under the barbell, right? So that is a big win. So one example that I just wanted to bring up was an example that you might have seen me post on my story or on my feed was my squat. If you don't know already, I've probably talked about this. I have had the worst knees in the planet. Terrible knees. Couldn't squat, was always in pain, couldn't run. Like years and years of pain. So right. So I posted this video. I'm sorry if it's very loud on your end. I posted this video and I got a 200-pound squat. Right. Everybody sees this and this is so cool. And at one point, I really wanted to hit this 200-pound squat. Right. But the truth is, at some point when I first started my journey, I was stuck right here. At 145, I couldn't even go to 90 degrees. And at this point, it sucked. And I felt like I wasn't making any progress. And I even felt myself like, I'm just never going to be that girl that squats. I'm never going to be that girl that squats heavy. All right. But at a certain point, there was two options that I can choose. I can sit into that self-sabotage of like where I am right now and I can't squat and my knees hurt. I want to be that girl that squats, but how? How can you stay positive throughout this whole entire journey of like seeing something that is so far away? It's important to find little tiny wins in that. So one example is this one exercise, the ATG lunge. A lot of you have put, especially if you're in phase 2, you've done this. All right. This thing was so hard for me. I could barely even get my knee past my toe. Even Anna doing this exercise, I don't think she can even get that far right now. She's still working on it. All right. So when I was building up my squat, I wasn't thinking of like, okay, did I put more weight on my squat today? Because it honestly felt like for 5 months, my squat was kind of moving, but barely. But I started paying attention to like, wow, this mobility exercise that I could barely get past, all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, like my knee was going like flying all the way past my toe. Now I can do this weighted. There was mobility exercises that I could not do. They would hurt my knees. I could barely do like heel elevated squats without being in pain. So it kind of started there. And people say like, how can you build up your squat? How did you go from not being able to squat 135 to be able to squat 200 pounds? Well, I never really looked at that. I looked at the fact that like, oh, nice. I can do body weight squats with my heel elevated and my knees stopped hurting. I can do mobility exercises and my knees are slowly going past my toe. I can squat to full depth because that wasn't something that I was able to do. And so these are little tiny things that are starting to make that experience more positive. So once we get to 200, that's awesome. But what happened when I got to 200? What's the next goal? 225. And it's exactly what everybody thinks. You guys want to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds. What's the next goal after that? Because the goal is never going to be the goal. Once you get to that goal, you want something else. But what made this so exciting for me? It's that whole entire journey that I was able to take my body through. And now to get to 225, I need to just keep going. What's going to happen when I get to 225? I'm going to want to hit 315, right? I'm going to want to put another plate on. And that's what we have to realize there is you're never going to be satisfied, but how can we compound these wins in order to slowly make our way up there? All right. So the thing with wins is wins are going to attract more wins because it keeps you more positive, right? If you like, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, you can experience back to a time where like, maybe you're like really good at something and like you keep doing it and then you start to get better and better and better and better. And it just kind of started because you were pretty good at something. All right. So one win started getting you excited and you started to hit another win and you started to hit another win, hit another win. If you want to ride a bike, first you started like on tricycles and maybe somebody was holding you and you got really excited. Nice, I can ride a bike. And then you could do the tricycles by yourself. And then you're able to take off the tricycles and somebody's helping you. Each step of the way you were excited until you were able to finally ride that bike. But in order to get to the wins, in order to get to the ultimate wins, we need to compound those wins. In order to compound those wins, you need to redefine what winning is for you. Winning is not just losing weight. Winning is hitting 5 workouts every single week. Winning is not just growing your ass, like all of a sudden it's all muscle. Winning is eating enough to fuel your body every single day. Because these things that you're compounding, eating enough protein, right? Hitting your walks, hitting your workouts, they're ultimately what make these wins happen. But if you never realize that these little things are wins, you're never going to achieve that, because then you're going to get upset and you're going to want to quit and you're not going to want to keep going. All right. So, all right, one thing that I bring this all back here, right, for the people that are kind of struggling with consistency, or maybe you fall off at some point, right? If your ultimate goal is to lose weight, we have to think of like, how can we compound those wins? So if you only defined your winning as losing weight, you're never actually going to get there, because we all know that the concept of losing weight is a lot more complex than it actually like seems. Right? We all think it's just eating less and moving more. No, in order to get there, I would be ecstatic if all of a sudden you haven't been able to get on track with anything and you just scheduled out when you were going to do your meal prep. Right. So it all started with scheduling. This week, hey, awesome. Nice, you scheduled. Okay. Next week, let's make sure that we meal prep every day before we go to sleep. Nice, we've done that for 2 weeks. And then we can start tracking and hitting our calories. Right. When we start doing that, right, when we start seeing wins as I scheduled, then we can start seeing wins as meal prepping. Then we can start seeing wins as tracking and hitting our calories. And then we start seeing wins as a weight loss. But if you only see wins as weight loss, you will never get past that first step. And this is something actually that I talked about today with a client. She said, like, I need to lose X amount of pounds, right? So in order to lose X amount of pounds, this is everything that we have to get done. We do all our workouts. We have to make sure that you're eating enough. We have to have everything structured, no binging, no under eating. We have to give your body safe stress enough for it to change, because we know if you put your body under too much stress, it's not going to change. Right? In order to lose this weight, we have to get to this point. But in order to get to this point, we have to get to this point where you're working out 3 days a week consistently. We're eating 4 times a day just to give your body that stability, where we're walking daily. But in order to get any of that done, how are we scheduling out our meals? Are you scheduling out your workouts? Are we scheduling, or are we managing mental fatigue? Most of our issues here come through mental fatigue, and they're completely outside. That's why most of the time that we hop on calls, even if they're like one-on-one calls where like you're really stuck, I tell you to journal out, to schedule out your day, to write down what's happening, because this is not the problem. The problem is not that you can't get to the gym 5 times a week. The problem is that you have so much on your head and you're showing up for so many things in your life that you're not able to walk and move your way up the tower. But if you start seeing wins in these, then this starts happening. And if you start seeing wins in this, then this starts happening. Right. So are we kind of understanding where we, if you're ever running into like, why can't I be consistent? It's because you are, when I tell you to schedule out your day, you genuinely think like, I'm going to tell, I feel like some of you reach out like, hey, Nicole, like I'm struggling. And I'm just gonna be like, hey, stop eating breakfast. That'll make you lose weight faster. Like I would never say that. Right. Why are you struggling? And then we dive into that. Right. So the problem is never the problem. You probably heard me say that. That's like my new thing. All right. And again, that brings us back to this pyramid. It starts with stress and habits. Then we focus on your nutrition, and then we focus on your training. So real quick, I want you to either write it out, put it in the chat, right? 3 wins that you have had in your fitness journey. 3 wins that you have had in your fitness journey. However, I want you to dive a little deeper too, right? Because we all can think of like the PRs and the weight loss, right? That's cool. That's cool. You can add that too. That could be one of them. But I want you to think of even wins that maybe you didn't even consider as wins. Maybe today we spoke about something and you were like, oh, wow, that is a win. Because I know for me, when I was struggling with chronic dieting, I would never think that going through a 2-year span of not going into a calorie deficit was a win. But that was one of the biggest wins for me. So real quick, write down, what are 3 wins that you have had in your fitness journey? 3 wins that you have had in your fitness journey. I'm mad. Let me drink some tea. I actually want to write mine too. Mm. All right, so I'm sending in mine now. All right, so Jen said, putting myself first. I love that, especially once your busy season comes in, girl. That's all you. You're first. Consistently eating more and having more energy. That is beautiful. So for me, I have getting my body to the point where I can eat 2,300 calories and not gain weight. Because for a long time, I thought that I had to stay at like 16, 1,800 calories. Right, focusing on strength rather than just sweaty cardio sessions. And a 200-pound squat with bad knees. Sarah said, eating 2,000 calories and maintaining weight, which technically for your size is so unheard of, which is so cool. Working out 5 times a week consistently, allowing myself time of stillness for myself to be able to pour into others more effectively. Yes, if we don't give to ourselves, we cannot give to others. Learning how to include treats in your day by following calories and adding, not taking away. Yes. Learning that I need to be more aware of my mindset. Being able to lift heavy while eating in a calorie deficit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. You've been having a lot of PRs. With my arthritis, I couldn't maneuver my body to unsnap my bra. I am now able to do it without any help. I regained my confidence and have more energy. I love that. That's such a like huge win. Just to be able to do more basic things like that we would think like, you know, is supposed to be easy. Now you're able to do that. I think something too is like going for a hike and not being so out of breath. That was a big one for a lot of people. And I think that's such a fun one to focus on. Eating more, truly listening to my body, mentally and physically, and truly believing I'm strong. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Being consistent with my workouts, changing the way I see food, making smarter choices, but still enjoying the things I love, feeling physically stronger. I love that. You've been super consistent, which I love. Eating more, sleeping more, having more sleep, yes, and being able to move my body more freely. I love this. All right. So when we think about like, all right, different situations of, I have another one. I've been started working on mobility, surpassing my squat goal, started to be more in tune with my body and what makes me feel good, food and activity wise. Love that. So these are all ways, right? Maybe you don't think about it, but if we are not focusing on these tiny, tiny wins, and we're only focusing on that overall goal of like you see a picture of that girl and I kind of want to look like her, we're never going to get to that goal. So in order for you with anything, let's completely switch this. Like if you want to find a new job, right? In order for you to actually find that job, you have to start with a very simple thing, right? We can't even send out anything. We can't, hey, can you hire me? No, we have to build out a resume and then we have to find more information, right? So I think I was talking about this with Tiffany once too, and she was kind of struggling. She's like, I need to send out, I forgot what it was that she needed to send out. I'm like, okay, just schedule in when you're even going to look things up. Because if you need to send out to all of these many people your resume, first you need to just schedule out when are you actually going to do that, and start with step one. And then, oh, nice, I made a win. And that win compounds to more. So that's kind of the mentality that I wanted to go to today. And that's something that we have to continue doing, not only like with this journey, but it's the way that we think, the way that we see ourselves. You're never, ever going to see yourself in the mirror and be completely, truly happy, because that is not the way that we were like wired. That's not the way that we were taught. But when we start changing the way that we think, we can slowly start to step into that more. Whew. Do we have any questions on today's lesson? Any questions? Oh, did anything in particular resonate with us today? If you do have any questions, you can unmute yourself in order to stay consistent. Redefine your wins. Yes. Yes. How can we go to the gym 5 times a week and have super intense workouts if we haven't even gotten into the habit of scheduling out our week? Scheduled out your week win. Same thing, what I want you guys to think about is like, the reason that I do set you guys with so many small wins is because wins attract wins. And when you feel like a winner, you're going to continue to act like a winner. So if I tell you like only this week, where I just want to see you eating 4 meals every single day, it's not because I think it's going to all of a sudden bring all of the fat down. That's not why. It's because if you see yourself doing that every single day, you start to be like, oh, wow, I really did that. And you get excited and you get happy and you get proud of yourself. And now we can take the next step. But if I tell you, hey, here's everything that you need to do today and this week and like figure it out, you're not going to do anything and you're going to feel like a failure. So if you're ever struggling, just know we can always find something that can get you out of there. Any questions on anything not related to this? I'll open that up for you, whether it be nutrition wise, whether it be something that came up in training in the gym, anything at all. You can unmute yourself. You can feel free to share if you want to share an experience. I'm all ears. My throat is killing me. If not, I'm gonna let you guys go.
I will say I have been off social media for a month and a half, and I think it's done that I am not comparing myself to anybody. I have no idea what's going on in anyone's lives. It's kind of weird. I think I'd miss it, but like I still haven't.
I love that. I love that you said this like a month ago, that you were gonna do that, and you did it.
It's weird because everyone will like send me things, and unless they text it to me, I won't open it. So like my sister has to like send me the video via text message for me to open it.
I love that.
My one friend is like, "Why are you ignoring me?" And I was like, "I'm just not on." Yeah.
I'm just protecting my mental health right now. That's what my cousins say too. Why don't you ever answer me? You're always on social media. I'm like, no, I work on social media. I'm not always on social media. That's different.
Everybody like seeing all these skinny people, that is somewhat not achievable because everybody's body types are different.
100%. That was something that was really big for me. I think I've mentioned this a little bit ago, but when I first started my journey to having a more positive relationship with all of this, I went through like an unfollowing like frenzy, because I used to follow like those girls that would only post their abs or their ass, or like just had the most perfect world, and like every time I looked at them, they didn't teach me anything and they didn't make me feel good. So if anyone is not making you feel good, go through your feed and just unfollow them all. No shame. Anything else anybody want to bring up? Ugh.
I guess for me, eating honest, like redefining the wins. I don't eat breakfast, but making the breakfast yesterday, at the end of the day, I was just like, damn, I'm really eating, huh? And then this morning I woke up, made my lunch, my breakfast, and then prepped half of my dinner, and it's like now that we're talking about it, it had to like click in, like, you at least you're making breakfast, at least you're eating lunch, at least you're hitting your 4 meals.
Yeah.
um and that's just really like weird. I don't know, it's just it's just weird to me, but like I know it needs to be done because I haven't
Yeah.
been eating.
Does anyone have anything that they want to add to that in terms of like when you got started and when we kind of got you into eating more? Because I know for a lot of people that get started, it's kind of like the opposite of what they think dieting would be. So does anybody want to add to that?
Breakfast before, and I think you and me had this conversation before. I don't know why, but like breakfast, like I was like, I'm not a breakfast person, and like now I wake up, I am, not that it matters, but I am purposely late to work, but I have my, before it was coffee, now I have breakfast. Like this morning I made like my protein French toast and an omelet, and I brought it to work. I sat. My job is really chill right now, so it doesn't matter. But I'm like, well, whatever. At least I'm fed, and like I feel like my day goes so much better when I eat breakfast.
I love that. Love that. Anybody else want to share anything else? That's kind of how it
think-
starts. I used to never eat breakfast.
I think
Think
for
about it.
me, in the beginning, it was like, I'm really supposed to eat this much food, because it goes back to that way of thinking that you're, kind of restrict on a diet in a sense. But then just moving towards the mindset of, this is a sustainable lifestyle change. So you do have to fuel yourself, especially when working out in the gym, because or else you're just going to be tired all day long. So I think just learning that, or not learning it, but realizing it and just being okay with it and saying like, look, and then going through it, seeing the progress that I've seen, it makes it more, okay, I could do this. Let's have this for dinner, or let's have this as my snack, and so forth.
I love that. Yeah, this is definitely against what a lot of people are telling you, even probably what people still tell you now, like, why are you eating that? Are you like, we're all fitness? I'm like, well, this is what you're supposed to do. So it's definitely redefining a lot of that. But I'm glad that we can be a group of women now that are fueling our bodies consistently and are making progress while eating more. Awesome. Any last minute things before we move forward? All right, cool. So we'll just leave it at that. Before, actually, let me stop this recording.